What's happening, everybody? I hope you're having a great day. I'm super excited about this one because what I'm going to share with you in this video just leveled up my personal writing and pitching game by like 1000%. I'm not even kidding. So let me ask you a question. Do you think it's possible to build a house by putting up a roof first? You probably already know the answer. 99.999%, you're going to fail. So this is what a lot of writers do, and I've done this mistake in the past. We're getting too excited, too impatient. All we can think is about the characters, the scene, the action, the dialogue, and so on. And then somewhere in the middle of the script, we're getting lost and frustrated because it's not quite coming together like we originally wanted to. So what am I talking about here is building a foundation before you start writing the script. And this foundation is LTT, stands for Logline, Title, Tagline. Boom! These are the three things you must have before you write your desirable words fade in. Without further ado, let's begin, shall we? So what is logline and why is it important? If I'm going to give you a definition in my own words, essentially logline is a one sentence that tells you what the movie is about. But if you ask the gods of Wikipedia, here's what they're going to tell you. A logline is a brief, usually one-sentence summary of a television program, film, or book that states the central conflict of the story, often providing both a synopsis of the story's plot and an emotional hook to stimulate interest. Pretty much exactly what I said. It's just one sentence that describes what the movie is about. Logline is the seed of your script, and the better your seed is, the better your script is going to be in the end. Logline gives you the ability to stay grounded and stay focused, and don't make too many side turns as you're developing a script. When you're writing a script, you're in this creative process. You have all these different ideas that you want to put in this scene and that scene. Let's say you want to create a character and you want to put this character into your script. Before you do that, you can actually refer back to your logline and ask yourself an honest question. Is this character going to improve my story? Is this actually necessary? Is it important? And if not, you just saved yourself a lot of time by referring back to your original idea, which is logline. The next great thing about logline is that you can start telling and pitching your project to people way before you even start writing. And this is also amazing because you will start gathering early feedback. In order for us to understand how to write a logline, let's look at one great example of an actual logline. The aging patriarch of an organized crime dynasty transfers control of his clandestine empire to his reluctant son. Have you guessed the title of this movie? If you did, let me know down in the comments below. So the first thing that your logline must include is your character. But not also just the character by itself, it must have the flaw of the character. So check this out. The aging patriarch of an organized crime dynasty. He's not just a patriarch of an organized crime dynasty, he's the aging patriarch of a crime dynasty. The second thing that your logline must include is the goal of the character. And that basically tells you what the story is going to revolve around. What is your character going after? In our case, the aging patriarch transfers control of his clandestine empire. That is the goal and the journey that the character takes in this particular story. He transfers the power to his son. The third thing that it needs to include is the conflict or the villain. Sometimes it's the villain, sometimes it's just the situation that the character is up against. In our example, our lead character is transferring power to his reluctant son. He's not just a son, it's not just a random guy, it's his son, but also on top of it, his son is reluctant. And so just to play around and show how these things are important in the logline, let's remove two words, just two words from this logline. The patriarch of an organized crime dynasty transfers control of his clandestine empire to his son. Okay, so what? Why should I go watch this movie? There seems no drama in it. So let's summarize really quickly. A character with a flaw, goal, and what stops your character from achieving this goal. The next thing, what your logline needs to have. Extremely strong conflict. Never be afraid of making your conflict epic. Weak conflict means weak movie. If your logline includes a strong conflict, that means your script is going to have a strong conflict. So let's talk a little bit about how you can raise the stakes of your conflict. Number one, think about irony. You need to think how ironic that my character is up against this particular challenge. He could have passed the power to his number one general, but he's transferring the power to his son. Isn't it ironic that his son is reluctant and he doesn't want to accept power from his father? Irony. Just keep that in mind when you're creating a conflict. The second thing to improve your conflict is the urgency. He's the aging patriarch. He's not a sad patriarch, or he's not a heartbroken patriarch. He's the aging patriarch. That means he doesn't have enough time left, and at any moment he can die, which creates the urgency for the character to achieve his goal, because if he won't, his life work will disappear, and that is why the son is reluctant. You know, it's kind of like everything just connected here, and everything just works if you really think about it. Okay, so let's look at some other examples so you can see that all of these things apply to any strong logline. A young FBI cadet must receive the help of an incarcerated and manipulative cannibal killer to help catch another serial killer, a madman who skins the victim. You have a character with a flaw, a young FBI cadet. The task that the character has ahead is huge. It's so overwhelming, and it makes it hard because the character is young and inexperienced. So what is the goal? Cadet must receive help in order to catch the killer. You see the character with the flaw, you see the goal, and you see strong conflict. Also, you clearly see the urgency because there's a serial killer on the loose who skins the victims. Another great logline that I'd like to share is, after awakening from a 4-year coma, a former assassin wreaks vengeance on the team of assassins who betrayed her. She is a former assassin. She wakes up from the 4-year coma. That is the challenge. That is her flaw. Her goal is to wreak vengeance. And what stops her is that there's not just one assassin or 2 or 3, there's a team of assassins. And here are some extra tips on writing a logline. Generally, the shorter it is without losing quality, the better. Don't write long sentences and don't use complicated words. A good practice is to say your logline out loud. And if it's too difficult to say, that means you need to work a little bit more on it. This is where you need to find this delicate balance between not giving away too much, but also not to withhold important information that will keep people being interested in the project. Again, simplicity is the key, but don't lose the quality. Make sure your logline has an open question. People need to wonder what will happen next. They need to say that, oh, I want to hear more, I want to know more. So, and you can achieve that by having some kind of open question in the end. Your logline needs to have a sense of genre, mood, cost, and targeted audience. These are pretty much for the pitching purposes. So when you meet producers and you tell your logline or you tell your pitch, they need to be able to clearly see how much it's gonna cost, how much they can make, what are the targeted audience, and all of these boring producer financing things. But it is important. Following logline is the title. This is where I can't really give you a formula or some kind of easy trick onto how to create a good title. This is something you just have to brainstorm and be creative about. The way I personally go about it is that I create multiple titles, sometimes 10 or 15, and then from the feedback, I kind of choose the best candidates. So one thing to keep in mind, title and your logline needs to really go together well. They need to work together and complement each other instead of going against each other. Sometimes the title comes to you first before you create anything else. A good example is Dirty Dancing. They came up with the title first, Dirty Dancing, and then they try to figure out the story. You know, sometimes a title just comes to you, write it down, and then try to figure out a story. And here are some examples of awesome titles. Back to the Future, Kill Bill, Scarface, Do the Right Thing, Dirty Dancing, Almost Famous, and last but not least, the tagline. So the tagline is that catchphrase that usually goes on the poster. One rule to remember about tagline, it needs to be clever, catchy, and memorable. Here are some great examples of taglines. Alien, in space, no one can hear you scream. Catch me if you can. The true story of a real fake social network. You don't get to 500 million friends without making a few enemies. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I really hope that this video was educational for you and you find this information useful. I really hope you will start utilizing an LTT in your writing process. If you did like this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and stick around for more content if you're interested in filmmaking and producing. See you around.